Good. Hey David, how are you doing today?
Well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
We'll just get right into this interview.
Great.
So, my first question for you is, why is this career a passion of yours?
Why is it a passion of mine? I had an experience was at a young age in physical therapy when I was about 12, 13, where I was in a wheelchair for about 6 months. And the physio that I had 3 times a week for 6 months put a good beat down on me, so to speak. I wasn't able to bend my knee, and she got it there, despite the hardware that I had in my leg. So I took a lot from that experience, and I came back and volunteered as in high school with her for about 3 years, with her and in the emergency room as well. I knew that experience sort of led me to sort of a medical field, and that's volunteering really cemented physio for me as a career. And I enjoy helping people. I enjoy the sort of academic part of it as well.
Yeah.
And I get to beat people up for a living, so it's great.
It's not bad.
I'm kidding.
So, do you mind if I ask what the condition was that you entered physio in the first place?
I had a leg length discrepancy when I was when I was born. So much so that it had to be corrected. I had my left femur was elongated about 2.5 inches over a 6-month period.
Wow.
So as to even out the leg length difference and minimize risk of development of scoliosis and other issues that would stem from that kind of imbalance in gait.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So, you've obviously had a fairly long career at this point. I'm wondering if this is your final stage, or if you want to end up somewhere in this field. But
you know what? I think in this field and in all walks of life, no one really has one career anymore. People do move a little bit from career to career. When I came out of university, I applied to physio school and didn't get in the first time.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really trained to do anything coming out of university except to do brain surgery on rats. And there's not much call for that. So I actually went into research for a year, worked down in New Mexico for a while for my thesis supervisor, and then came back up, decided I didn't like research, and actually came back up and went into pharmaceuticals for a year doing marketing, sort of the back end, a different kind of science. There were some aspects of that I liked and didn't like, and actually from there I went into finance because I had done Canadian securities course for fun. So I worked a year in the mutual fund industry, and realized I didn't like that either. I was getting kind of antsy by that point and applied to physio school again and got in. So I actually had about 3 or 4 years of doing other things before going back to physio school. I don't see myself working in this kind of environment until I retire. I can see myself going into more of an advisory role and more of an academic role. The role I have here now has actually become a little bit of that anyway. In the OHIP side is a little bit more advisory than actually treating. I don't actually treat people a lot anymore this particular location.
Okay.
So yeah, people change careers. I'm not probably going to change out of healthcare and go into forestry or anything like that. But certainly I'll stay in healthcare, but what that role is will change over the years.
Okay. So I wasn't going to ask this, but it made me think, since you do a lot of hands-on stuff, has that taken any toll on your body? Has that been part of the reason you want to get out of
no,
this?
but I could see it coming.
Yeah.
I tend to be, the type of therapy I do is a little bit heavier from a manual therapy point of view. I don't have any pains in my hands. I don't have any pains in my back or anything like that. But if I keep it up for another 20 years, it's probably going to get there.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that kind of therapy to younger people.
Yeah.
And massage therapists have a pretty short life expectancy in a career.
Yeah.
It might be anywhere from 3 to 5 years because that's a really demanding job. Physio, there's a lot more. There's a wide range of ways you can administer treatment. It doesn't always have to be manual. It can just be exercise based.
Okay.
Which is easier on the body.
Yeah. All right. So before I forget, because this is last on the list, and I don't know if we're going to run out of time.
I talk too much, yes.
No, it's good. All right. So I read your section on the company website, which had your schooling credentials. It says you have a degree in neuroscience from the University of Toronto and a master's degree in physiotherapy from McMaster. I remember a long time ago when I was in here, you suggested maybe going to school in Europe and not ruling that out. And I was wondering why you suggested that, and what do you think the benefits would include of doing that?
You know what? The reason I suggest whether it's Europe or whether it's the US or there is a lot to be said for travel and experience in an academic setting.
Yeah.
Simply because there's so much more you can get out of university when you're abroad or when you're away from home. Sorry, Mom. The university isn't just here's your piece of paper. There's so much more to gain from the experience. You grow so much as a person.
Yeah.
And from talking to people, either in this field or in other fields, studying abroad is great. I had somebody in here yesterday who had 2 PhDs in fine arts, and she did one of her degrees in Scotland, and had an opportunity to do part of her undergrad degree, actually before her undergrad started, anywhere she wanted to work in Germany. She had pretty much carte blanche to work in any sort of museum in Germany and really do sort of a couple of years before she went into school, and she really regrets that now.
Yeah.
Part of the other reason I suggest that to people, to look at the US or to look at Europe, when I was coming out of school, I had the opportunity to apply and go to do physio school in Scotland. But at the time there were some other things happening in my life that I didn't really think it was best for me to leave the country. Some family things and whatnot. But had I done that, that would have gotten me into physio school sooner, because Ontario is a really hard place to do postgraduate work.
Yeah.
Simply because there are so many people out there that demands the creeping credentialism that is set in has really driven marks for entry into postgraduate programs to untenable levels in some cases. Physiotherapy isn't just academics. If you have to see people 3 times a week, you have to be good with people. Same with personal training, same with massage therapy, the same with any kind of nursing, for example. You've got to be good with people because you see them a lot. Medicine, not so much. You see them once every couple of weeks. Some are great, some are not so great.
Yeah.
Some of them are just purely scientists.
And that's what lack the people skills, right?
Exactly. And that's what physio is really training, is these days anyways, how the program's set up, they're training scientists. They're training people to do research. They're training academics, which is great. But when you've got somebody in front of you who really needs kind of a helping hand and sort of emotional and psychological support, if you're the equivalent of Sheldon Cooper looking at somebody, forgive the analogy, but you can't empathize with somebody. You lose that bridge, and the therapeutic relationship is lost. So that worries me. And I know, for example, in schools in the States, and I have to say, they're a little bit easier to get into. And so those people that have those soft skills can get into those schools a little bit more easily. Yes, you've still got to come back and do the entrance exams here, but those schools are good and capable. I mean, Duville over in Buffalo is a great school. Canadians will go there. They will live in Canada, drive over every day for school, and come back, do their entrance exams here, and they're licensed just as I would be, or just as anybody else coming out of physio school now. Europe as well. So there's a little bit of a difficulty sometimes in preparing for the exams, but it's really not that bad. I actually see I take a lot of volunteers that have been foreign trained physios from India, from other places, sort of help them with their transition. I know U of T has a bridging program for that now, but you can be trained in another place and get your credentials here. But training abroad is just, there's so many good parts of it. And when you're a young person, there's so much you can take from that, as long as you can handle yourself independently. So that's why.
That was a really good answer.
That's a long-winded answer.
Yeah, that's fine. So that kind of takes me to another question, which you kind of answered. What are the things that you wish you had known before committing to this career?
Paperwork. Working with insurance companies, working with the WSIB. They're all great people. I'm sure they are. That is my primary difficulty, is working with third-party payers in trying to be an advocate for patients. Can be really trying when the person on the other end of the phone line is just trying to save money and trying to minimize. I think you remember a little bit of that, but when they're trying to minimize I don't want to say minimize the care, but they're trying to save money. And so that's a constant battle, which is really a challenge.
It's unfortunate too.
Well, it is, and unfortunately, healthcare, whether it's doctors, whether it's physio, whether it's chiro, whether it's whatever, what have you, is still a business at the end of the day. And whether you're in the public sector, trying to scrimp by with just pennies, or if you're in the private sector where you've got to maintain a certain level of profitability to keep the lights on, it's a challenge. I mean, working in this environment, in an OHIP environment, with the change we had a couple of years ago to how things were financed from the government level down, we've got to be able to keep the lights on, and with funding changes at a provincial level, it's really hard in an OHIP clinic to do that.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a signal from your videographer.
Oh, are we? Okay. All right, well, I definitely got a lot of information out of you. Again, thanks a lot for the time.
You're more than welcome.
And maybe we'll be in contact in the future.
Very good, sir.
Thank you.